Good day everyone, this is Sally Wong discussing my learning objectives with the topic phonetics and phonology. So I have a table here which you can see the revised taxonomy with 2 dimensions of the cognitive domain. So in the first column we have the cognitive dimension, and the second column is the factual. Next is conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. Now let's start the discussion of my learning objectives, starting with the lower level or subcategories of cognitive domain, which is first is the remember. So when we say remember, we are able to recall, name, list, state, tell, reproduce, describe, locate, write, find, underline, and define something regarding with the topic being discussed. So my learning objectives with the topic phonetics and phonology for this level is recall the 3 ways in describing a consonant. So with this, the students will be able to recall the 3 ways when they're going to describe a consonant. The 3 ways in describing a consonant are the voicing, place of articulation, and manner of articulation. Now let's move on to the factual level of knowledge, which is remembering facts. So my learning objectives is that state the common types of phonological rules. So the students will be able to state the common types of phonological rules, which are the assimilation, dissimilation, insertion, deletion, fronting, and exchange rules or metathesis. In the conceptual, which is about remembering concepts, the learning objectives is define phonetics and phonology. So the students will be able to define phonetics as the study of the production and perception of speech sounds, and while the phonology, they will be able to define it as the concerns of the study of more complex and abstract sound patterns and structures, which they have learned during the discussion. In the procedural, list the 4 stages of the speaking process. So the students will be able to write the stages of the speaking process, which are the breathing stage, phonation stage, resonation stage, and articulation stage. And in the metacognitive, recognize the speech organs in the articulation stage. So the students will be able to recognize the speech organs in the articulation stage. Speech organs consist of alveolar ridge, upper lip, lower lip, teeth, hard palate, soft palate, uvula, back middle, front, blade, tip, and glottis. The next subcategories of the cognitive dimension is the understand. Understand means explaining, translating, interpreting, discussing, describe, defining, report, or project something also regarding with the topic being discussed. So the learning objectives for this level is explain the natural class and phonetics. So the students will be able to explain the natural class and phonetics based from their understanding of our topic. Labials, sonorants, and obstruents are part of the natural class in phonetics. Labials include bilabial and labidentals. Sonorants include nasals, liquids, and glides. Obstruents include stops, fricative, and affricates. In the factual or understanding facts, the learning objectives is explain how the sounds are made, especially with respect to airflow. So the students will be able to explain, since they understand how sounds are made, especially with respect to airflow, during our discussion. So the sounds are made through the sounds by obstructing the airstream completely in the oral cavity. The sounds are made by forming a nearly complete stoppage of the airstream. The sounds are made by briefly stopping the airstream completely and then releasing the articulator slightly so that friction is produced. The sounds are made possibly by lowering the volume and letting the airstream pass primarily through the nasal cavity. So in the conceptual, the students will be able to summarize the articulation stage. In the procedural, the students will be able to discuss the 4 stages of speaking process. And in the metacognitive, the students will be able to interpret the processes under assimilation and phonological rules. So the next level under cognitive dimension is apply, based in the revised taxonomy. So apply means using, solving, implementing, constructing, practicing, executing, demonstrating, and dramatizing. So my learning objectives for this level is construct a table showing diphthongs in English. So the students will be able to apply what they have learned during the discussion about the diphthongs in English. In factual or applying facts, the students will be able to execute the phonation stage. So phonation stage takes place when voice is produced in speaking as the expiratory airstream from organa responsibly. Larynx is a principal organ of phonation found at the top of the trachea. In procedural, the students will be able to use 3 ways in describing consonant. So when students ask to describe consonant, they will be able to. And in the metacognitive, the students will be able to practice the bilabial and labiodental consonants. So example of bilabial consonants is the B, P, M, W. Like for example, by, pie, my, wool. While the labiodental is lip and teeth. Example is the letter F and V. Feel, veal. Now we are here in one of the high level under cognitive dimension based on the revised taxonomy, which is the analyze. Analyze is all about comparing, distinguishing, investigating, infer, contrast, separate, differentiate, and sequence. My learning objectives for this level is organize the consonant and vowel sounds. So the students will be able to organize the consonant and vowel sounds. Consonants are the sounds characterized by closure or obstruction of the vocal tract, while vowel are sounds characterized by an open vocal tract with no closure and obstruction. In factual, which is analyzing facts, the students will be able to differentiate between phonation and resonation stage. So phonation stage takes place when voice is produced in speaking as the expiratory airstream from the lungs goes up through the trachea or windpipe to the larynx, while the resonation stage is the voice produced intonation. It is the process of voice amplification and modification. In conceptual, the students will be able to explore the breathing stage. In procedural, the students will be able to separate voiced and voiceless consonants. So voice consonants are the vocal cords engage, or it's all about making sounds, while the unvoiced consonants are the vocal cords are not making sound. There is just air passing through them. And in metacognitive, the students will be able to reflect on one's ability to phonology in linguistics. The next high level under cognitive dimension is evaluate, which is all about assessing, debating, defend, dispute, judge, appraise, check, decide, justify, and rate. So my learning objectives for this, since our topic is all about phonetics and phonology, the students should should be proficient in English language. That's why we should check or evaluate their English proficiency. In evaluating facts under factual, the students will be able to select the most complete list of consonants. In conceptual, the students will be able to critique the different views about speech production mechanism. In evaluating procedures under procedural, chose the most important phonological rules in phonology. And in metacognitive, assess one's English literacy. Finally, we are now in the highest level of this cognitive dimension, which is create is all about changing, designing, formulating, improving, planning, proposing, invent, devise, generate, compose, and combine. So the learning objectives for this level is the students will be able to make a poster of the speech organs. In creating facts under factual, is produce a presentation showing epa vowel and diphthong symbol. In conceptual, the students will be able to write an essay about the breathing stage. In procedural, the students will be able to create new phonological rules in phonology. And lastly, in metacognitive, the students will be able to make a table of the consonant phonemes of English with additional natural classes. My discussion ends here, and I hope I help you something in how to create learning objectives based on a topic. So that's all, and thank you for listening.